what you would suggest even someone else to read or understand, say the Mahabharata and Ramayana, would you say they read them in like a spiritual lens? Should they read it in the religious sense? Should they be reading it in a more psychological sense? Which lens do you think is optimal when you're reading?
I actually don't see any dichotomy in any of these lenses, because when you start reading the text, you realize that this all sort of comes together, and that has been the beauty of Sanatan Dharma. Any text you pick up, yeah, we are not reductionists in the sense that, oh, Adi Bhautik is different from Adhyatmik. Like even in Gita, he'll say at every level you have to live your life, right? But the question is still very important, because people tend to take only any one of these lens and look at it from only from that very narrow perspective, and I think in that the whole lesson or the purpose of the text is lost, right? Now we call Mahabharat and Ramayan, especially these two, as our itihas. And itihas in the Indic view is not just documenting history, it is more than that. So what it says is that itihas, so dharma artha kama mokshanam upadesham samanvitam, dharma artha kama moksha, yeah, these are the four pusha, the four goals of life that we must pursue. Now this itself will take a long lecture, so I'm not getting deeper into that, but the four goals of life that we must pursue to live a fulfilling life. To give us the lesson of these purusharthas, we have itihas. And now, what is itihas? Purva vrittam kathayuktam. Something that happened in the past, but it has come to us in a katha format, in a story format, so that we can relate to it easily. But as I said, it has a purpose, and that purpose must not be lost. Now, how do we? So, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, that itself covers every lens that you're talking about, right? It is about your social lens, it is about your interpersonal lens, it is about moksha, so it's also about the spiritual, religious, adhyatmic lens, it is also about the dharmic lens. All of it comes together here. Now how do we understand that to begin with? So I always give this example that in management institutes, you have this case study format of teaching, right? So there is theory and there is case study. What do the case studies do? They make the theory come live for us, to help us understand, okay, a certain problem was dealt in a certain way and this was the outcome of it, right? And then of course we can judge it, we may not judge it, that's one thing, but this is how it happened. So we saw a theory in action in the case study. Itihas is actually just that. We have lots of shastras which will talk about do this, do that, this is jnana, this is wisdom, right? This is karma, this is karma phala, all of that we know, the siddhantas, the principles. But how do we make sense of it? How do I say that, okay, how do I live it in my life? That is where itihas comes, where we see how did our ancestors live it in their lives, right? And what was the outcome of it? Now, the other issue which I sometimes see with people when we read the itihas is that we become instantly judgmental. We take one incident and we become judgmental. Sahi galat, is this right or is it wrong? Oh, no, 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 he shouldn't have done this. Oh, no, 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 he shouldn't have done that. I'm not saying we shouldn't ask questions. I'm not saying we shouldn't have judgments. I think that is just natural. However, if we want to understand itihas for what it is, so rather than taking any of those lens, I would say take the lens of inquiry and ask questions that why is a certain person behaving in a certain way, right? And see if there is consistency in that character. If you feel that there is one incident where the person has not behaved in the way you would have thought, it might be because you didn't understand rather than judging the person, right? Then the questions to ask is, okay, what were the options available at that point in time, right? If another option was chosen, what could have been the possible outcome? How could the story have changed, right? Also, what it took for the person to actually take that decision. So these are the questions. If we ask these questions when we read the itihas, it will also be a lot more fulfilling for us, and the whole purpose of itihas giving us the lessons for life will will be fulfilled better. Yeah, that is how I look